Hey, we are back with another Toronto After Dark review, the second film of Sci-Fi Night, therefore does not qualify for the 31 Days of Horror because there was no horror at all in it. This is the fourth film of the festival, and it's by a group who has done stuff before in the festival. We are talking about Mega Time Squad, the sci-fi comedy, which is what I was hoping might get Leslie over the hump. She doesn't like sci-fi, but she likes comedy. So, I knew the first film of the day was going to be a little hard, hoping the second film would work. Find out. So, the film is directed by Tim Van Dammen, who, this is essentially, I mean, he did a Romeo and Juliet movie. This is it. This is his first real genre film, so you wouldn't know who he is. But the guys who are involved in this film, and a bunch of the actors and crew and producers and stuff like that, were people who had worked on Deathgasm. So if you like Deathgasm...
I didn't see it.
Yes, that was the heavy metal one.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
Nope, that wasn't when I was there.
But didn't we, oh, I guess... Oh. Are you sure?
Yep.
I could have sworn you watched it.
I don't know what year it was, but I think that was like a final film or something, but I wasn't there.
No? Wow. So yeah, the guys behind Deathgasm. So if you enjoyed Deathgasm, expect similar type stuff. This is a New Zealand production. So if you like New Zealand humor, expect more of that kind of stuff in this film. The film essentially revolves around a young guy named John who, I guess, what was his name? Tennant? He was played by Anton Tennant, who has had a few roles, but I've never heard of any of these things. So these must be all like stuff out in New Zealand that just never gets out, off the island. Maybe the Australian, maybe in the Asias or something like that. But I don't think it makes it across the waters. So, yeah. Because he wasn't in Deathgasm. But he is the main character. It revolves around him. And essentially, he starts off the film as I guess you'd call him like a whipping boy, an errand boy for a gangster who is this, who is it? What's his name? Is that him?
Yep.
Johnny Brew plays the character, and he was in What We Do in the Shadows, so you'll probably know him from that. And he is kind of a schmarmy kind of a gang boss. I say, like...
He's not, if you picture a gang boss, you don't picture him.
No,
I don't anyway.
This guy seems more like a country club, I've got... I'm going golfing type guy, right? But I guess he controls this criminal empire of this area. And apparently he finds out that the Chinese triads are moving in on his turf. And so he wants to do something about it. And of course, John is constantly picked on, put down, etc., etc., etc. And he finally decides he's going to grow a pair of balls. That's a running thing in the film, is balls. And he takes it upon himself to essentially steal the money from the triads. And while at it, he decides he's going to take a bracelet for his girlfriend. And turns out this bracelet allows you to time travel. I guess you jump back a certain amount of time, a certain set time length, and that's how this sort of film takes off. It ends up that the Chinese triads are trying to get their money back. This gangster guy is trying to get the money and deal with John and kill John. And of course, the whole time he's got people who are his friends, people who are his friends and turned enemies. People, it's just everybody's sort of bouncing back and forth. Lots of comedy going on, and a lot of. It was called. They said it along the lines of cloning, but I wouldn't call it cloning. It's just that when you jump back in time to when you know there's two of you, and then tell your person, you kind of create a pair. Essentially, this is they start off early on in the film identifying that they aren't creating paradoxes. So what they do is, he jumps back in time. There's a whole huge series, which is a really, really well shot series where he jumps back in time, and then he jumps back in time, and he jumps back in time. So first thing happens, and then the second thing happens, watching the first thing happen. Then the third thing happens, watching the first two happen, and then it's just constantly watching the same thing. And eventually he jumps back in time, and before his past self can jump back to be who he is right now, he says, no, don't do it. I just want to see what happens, right? And then there's the whole thing of, well, nothing happens. We can be here at the same time. So by not jumping back and creating himself, there should have been a paradox, right? That's how paradoxes work. But no, apparently in this time travel thing, that's the whole gimmick, it doesn't. Eventually it turns out that as long as, eventually he jumps back and somehow gets the thing to, it'll happen eventually. That's what they determined. So there's this whole running gag that you have to keep track of who's supposed to jump back and do these things eventually, because if you didn't jump back when you originally jumped back, it means you're just going to do it later on, and I don't know. Timey-wimey stuff, hard to really follow and stuff. It's not really important. You kind of have to throw the laws of time, what you might think of time travel out the window and just let it flow for being the gag. It's really the gag of the film, right? So it is this whole thing with John and his gang of Johns.
That sounds bad.
The army of one, essentially, trying to get the girl, get the money, defeat the triads, defeat the old crime boss, etc., etc., etc. Meanwhile, he's been told that, the more you use it, the more addictive it is, and the more you use it, the more likelihood that the demon will be summoned to come and eat you, because it's ancient Chinese magic, right? And there's always demons. So yeah, it's just essentially hilarity trying to make all this happen and tell this story. So did the comedy work for you, Leslie?
It was funny, so I liked that. And it wasn't like the only science fiction thing was the time thing. So it wasn't like they're trying to be funny, but they're up in space or something. Like,
why do you have a problem with space?
I don't like that stuff. So that was okay, because, I didn't pay attention to that. And the whole who was what, I wasn't paying attention to that. It was just funny. So I liked it.
Was there a particular gag you liked more than anything else?
I can't, yeah, but...
Without giving too much away.
No, I like the nut stuff. That was fun.
Oh. Yeah, there's... Like I said, it's a recurring theme going throughout the whole film about, having your, cojones.
What I didn't like was, I get it, okay, he likes her and blah, 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 but I was like, I don't think that was necessary. Like, why have to throw this love thing in there? I was fine, just find the money and do this. I was fine with that. And they gotta put that in there, and I'm just like,
I didn't really have a problem with it, because it isn't like your traditional love story. This is just two people who dig each other, and it really even though they try and make it out that there's more more emotions and stuff involved here. No, it's really like, I mean, these people are young, immature, not very bright. And so a lot of the film revolves around being young, immature, and not very bright, and the kind of stupid stuff you would do. Like robbing Chinese triads to begin. Having what looked like a BB gun as your weapon. They're just stupid things. It really is a very, very silly film. It's very, very silly. If you like early Peter Jackson works, where, it's elements of, say, horror or sci-fi or whatever, but really it's more about the characters and their personalities. And everybody in this film has a very distinct personality that they follow, and they follow it all the way through. And yeah, there's a lot of stupid stuff, a lot of reoccurring jokes, slapstick, a lot of dialogue type jokes, whereas and a lot of New Zealand slang and curse words. So if just hearing that is funny to you, you'll have a riot with this film. There's a lot of creative use of the time travel and the way they've put it in there, and how it's shot. And I'll give them credit that they managed to pull it off quite well, with the amount of jumping and different Johns showing up and doing stuff throughout this film. It could have been, I would have to imagine the amount of storyboarding that went on with this film had to have been pretty extensive, because it could have gotten really confusing really, really quickly, trying to keep track of everything and where everybody's supposed to be. And you know what? At some points they may have just said, it doesn't really matter, just go with it. But I would have to think that they had a very set plan going through, the film and shooting it. Because it would have been like very, very, very confusing. I'm gonna give it a recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll give it a recommend.
I give it 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. I also gave it 3 out of 5. It's funny. As funny as I thought it was, I think there was probably twice as many jokes in the film, so I found only half of them funny, and the other half kind of fell flat. But that's just me, because I think other people found things funny that I didn't find funny, right? So there's a lot of humor in the film, and I guess it's a good mix of different styles and different types of funny things. So
yeah, because it's like there are things that they're intentionally, this is going to be funny, right? And then there's stuff that is just like really stupid, and it's like, okay, but it's so stupid, it's funny.
Well, yeah. and honestly, I don't think there's a scene in the film that doesn't have something that's supposed to be played for laughs of some sort, whether it be something that somebody says, something that somebody does, or something that just happens. There's always something played for laughs, whether they work or not for you. That's the problem with comedy. It is very, very personal. So when we say we recommend the film, you may not like it. It's possible. You may watch the whole thing and go, "This is stupid. I didn't laugh at all." I'm gonna Rob and Leslie, you guys are totally out to lunch.
That won't happen.
It could.
No.
It could. On the thing, if you're into Woody Allen funny,
Oh, I don't like.
right? This is not your movie. If you are into stupid funny, if you, I don't know, like watch scary movie type things, Naked Gun movies, Hot Tub Time Machine, that kind of stuff, right? Meet the Feebles, whatever, Peter Jackson stuff, right? Like, if you're into that type of funny, I think this is the movie for you. I'm sure. Deathgasm came out this will come out. You'll be able to see it. It'll be somewhere. Track it down. If you're in, you know, if you want a good laugh. Overlook the whole time. The name Mega Time Squad doesn't really sell me on this film, but at the same time, that was a good joke. See, it's one of those things. When I heard the name and I saw the poster, I was like, and I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, yeah, I get where they're going. I'll watch the movie and hopefully it's good. And then I watched the movie and I was like, I laughed. Kudos. So, yeah, don't let Mega Time Squad or any trailer or anything you see dissuade you from seeing the film. If you like stupid funny, you'll like it. You'll like it. It's as simple as that. Do we give ratings?
Yes, we said the same thing, 3.
All right, there you go. Anyways, we have to get out of here now. We got to go. Toronto After Dark Film Festival to come. So keep watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Have a good one.